Hello there, this is Bick Benedict. We are playing Alan Wake on Nightmare difficulty, and this is episode 4.2. It's entitled The Truth, The Anderson Farm. So, in the last video... Hold on one second, I'm trying to do some more entertaining things in these videos just because I know Nightmare difficulty so far, it just hasn't been very hard. And I always really don't like saying that, but I like giving you guys the truth on this channel. And who knows, maybe there will be something pretty darn hard coming up. But as it stands, none of what I thought would be extremely challenging has turned out to be much difficult at all. Okay, so there's the Anderson Farm, and it has what's probably the most memorable fight in the entire game on a music stage. And I thought that it was a gauntlet, but they actually give you several checkpoints. Every time Barry lights up one of the pools of light, you can just go into it and it saves your progress. So it's actually really easy. But if it was a gauntlet, then it would have been really tough. But then maybe it wouldn't be playable. I don't know how they decide to put the checkpoints on this game. Some of them are kind of inconveniently placed, but in the last video we did that live stream, and the reason I did that was just because I wanted to incorporate something new and fresh into these videos, because I know that they've been stagnating. Maybe not to others as much as to me, because I'm my own worst critic, so to speak, and you know, what's boring is not going to be boring to somebody else maybe, but to me, I've been watching these videos back and they're just they're like instructional videos, and they're just and the fundamental problem about that, like I've said a couple of other times on these videos, is that if something isn't really tough, then I can't get the passion to narrate it. Just because when I'm narrating stuff that's simple, it's just like, what am I supposed to talk about? But then when I do a game like Devil May Cry, where there's so many strategies necessary, so many things I need to impart, like those commentaries are fluid and they fly by and they're really easy to do. But these just stagnate. So I apologize about that. So I'm trying to be a little more energetic in these videos to compensate for the fact that there might not be any need for a guide like this for Nightmare difficulty. But somebody might need it. I don't know. So there is no little left analog sign on the screen, but you still have to move it. And that's how to do that little puzzle right there that starts the chapter. And the Anderson Farm reminds me of a similarly titled farm in the Tommyknockers, which is a really fantastic book, and it has a couple of characters that I think are some of the best characters ever fleshed out on paper. It's a novel by Stephen King, if you don't know what it is. Sorry about my squeaky chair. But I wanted to thank everybody who was involved in the live stream and who helped to make the last video more entertaining. I think we're going to flee from these guys, because I see a light source in the distance. Anytime you need to flee from enemies and you're having a problem doing so, just light up a flare, because it gives you a lot of time to kill. But I hope that you enjoyed. Well, there's somebody. There's somebody. Ooh, got hit in the back with an axe. Okay, so I think we're going to be doing some Grand Theft Auto stuff after. We're eventually going to get that truck, and you'll see how bad of a driver I can be. In fact, I recently lost my driver's license because the driver license itself was expired, and here I was driving without a license, essentially, which is a misdemeanor. So now my ticket is in the district attorney's office waiting to proceed, but from the people I've talked to, it's just going to get laughed out of court just because I don't have a criminal record or anything like that. And I haven't got a speeding ticket or any kind of a driving infraction for like 12 years. And I'm a upstanding citizen. It's just the fact that when we moved, DMV the Department of Motor Vehicles, if you're from another country, they didn't send me a renewal. And ignorance is never an excuse for breaking the law. I know that. and I should have looked, but I didn't. I did not get a letter, so I've been driving around without a license because mine's expired. So I've lost mine now. So I have to get carted around and taxied around by my family, and I feel bad about it. But that's kind of, I do things for them too, and they do things for me, and it's never about, I owe you this for that. It's not like that in families, man. Excuse me. But if you're new to the channel, because sometimes people are searching for games that are their favorites and they come across my guides. For instance, imagine that this game is your all-time favorite game. It might not be, but just imagine that it is. And you're always on the prowl for new videos. You type in Alan Wake, and you type in, you filter it so that you find videos that have been published recently. And I think that's what a lot of people do, actually. Because I did the same thing for Ninja Gaiden 2 and for Devil May Cry to see who's doing what recently. And it's a good way to find channels. And I think that's how people find my channel sometimes. So anyway, we're going to make our way over to the Anderson farm. And we've got a hunting rifle. If you have a decision between making the hunting rifle or the pump-action shotgun, it's ultimately going to be your decision. But I find that the hunting rifle, I find it to be more powerful, faster. Now that's my opinion. On a technical basis, it could be shown to be empirically factual and indisputable thusly, but I don't have a fact sheet in front of me. I don't know how fast it reloads, and I don't know how much damage it takes off the hit point. I don't know how many hit points it takes off per shot. So at this point, lacking that empirical evidence, it's just personal preference, which cannot be argued because it's a matter of taste at that point. And there's no accounting for taste. So many cliches right now, so many colloquialisms. But when I was in college, a professor suggested to me that I read Politics in the English Language by George Orwell. And it's essentially rules to live by for grammar. So if you ever want to check out the rules that I adhere to, check out Orwell's Politics in the English Language. I was going to reference them right now, but it's basically rules such as use active rather than passive verbs. When you can cut a word out, cut it out. Do not use sayings and cliches and things that you hear in common speech. Do not use those, just because they can get inflated and they can distort information. And I think that's just some of the rules. There's a lot of good ones. Anyway, I trimmed that out right there because he was taking a long time to perish on the floor. So we're going to come down here now, and I believe we're going to do a fight with this guy who killed the guy upstairs. And the guy upstairs was actually one of the jailbirds that I referenced in one of the earlier videos. I didn't notice him, to be honest, but Alan Wake said he was, and I just wasn't paying attention. So when I started to do this game, I didn't realize how long it was. Now that might sound strange because I've already played this game, but it was at least a year ago. Well, more than a year ago. It was like a year and a half ago, I think. So anyway, we're going to do our Grand Theft Auto stuff now, and you can laugh as I drive this car in a horrible manner. And I did decide to speed this up, actually. So on Nightmare difficulty, I'm starting to think that the damage you take is the same as the damage you take on hard. It's just that it's harder to kill the enemies since it takes more shining the flashlight on them. Now, I could be wrong about that, and I hope I am, because an increase in difficulty should mean an increase on how much damage you get dealt. It's just one of the things. This is kind of funny. They're all banging on the car, and I had to get the hell out of Dodge over here. But sometimes when I publish videos on YouTube and no one comments on them, I just assume that nobody's watching. But a lot of people, they do watch the videos, they just don't comment. So I have to learn to accept that, because I really value comments. And even if, like, I always want my channel to be a place where you can feel like you can comment anything. You know, this thing's blocking too. I don't like how things can block that flashlight. I don't know what else it can mean. That orange circle, it has to mean that what you're doing is not working, so they're somehow blocking it. Anyway, we're moving on over to the Anderson farm now. This is the stadium where it's at. But anyway, I wanted my channel to be a place where you can comment anything. I want my channel to be a friendly place, you know, where you don't have to worry that anything you say might be misconstrued or derided. But anyway, this is the first checkpoint on the stage, and I have to give this game credit. This is extremely creative, but definitely switch to the heavy-duty lantern here, and a couple of guys will come up onto the stage. You're going to have guys chucking stuff at you constantly. It's just the name of the game here. But set down flares, listen to the nice music, have some fun, because this game is just, on a fundamental level, it's very, very enjoyable and very fun. So throw your flashbangs here. Do anything you need to survive. And just bear in mind that anytime the light comes on, you get a checkpoint. So there's an edit right there. And I try to make those as seamless as I possibly can. And there are a couple of boxes on the walls with ammo and batteries and things like that. And then there's also a hunting rifle up here, which you can pick up, and a pump action shotgun, which you can switch between. I wish, when you held down the B button, I wish that you could switch these weapons a little bit faster, because it puts you in a state of vulnerability. But this is a game that you can clearly see that it was developed on a long-term basis. Like, it was in development for 5 years. And I think any criticisms that you level at it should be taken with that information into account. And they've done a lot with this game visually, but I think that they could have maybe done a few more things with the mechanics. I think that when you do that cinematic dodge, I think it should put you in the direction of the enemy, and so that you can get in a hit. But I don't think they wanted that. I just don't think they did, because they're trying to engender a sense of realism within the player, and if that happened, it would kind of compromise the spirit of what the game is, I think. But, you know, just because that would make it too gamey, I think. And they wanted to make a narrative experience. It's one of those instances where an experience is better than like a gamey sort of game, because they went all out to make a psychological action horror like thriller title. And it's like, playing this game, it's very engrossing. I really enjoy this game. Because the ambiance and the atmosphere and the narrative, it really pulls you in. And I hate to say all these generalizations about it, but I'm trying to be factual about them as well. So there's another checkpoint. And I think we're just about done with this fight. But do you see, if this were all on the same checkpoint, it might be one of those seriously difficult parts. But I think they could have removed one checkpoint and it still would have played pretty well. It feels a little bit like they're babying you. And I think there's a long way to go between babying somebody and then vanquish hard. You know, there's a long way to go, and I think there is a really nice center point to that. Hopefully, you know, we can aspire to that. Maybe not us personally, but maybe we can give input on a video such as this, and people will listen. Because if I was making a game like this difficulty as it stands is not hard enough. Now, shining the flashlight so intently on these enemies for so long, I'm not saying that's not hard enough. That is pretty difficult to do that. But I'm saying the damage you take on this difficulty, it just doesn't seem very difficult. But we will see, though. I have not finished this game, so there might be something that's, and I always say that, well, there might be something coming up, and there never does. I think I said that in Tomb Raider. I said that in several other projects I remember. Projects that I was going through not knowing about the difficulty. But anyway, we are finally at the Anderson establishment here. We are going to use a boat up here to break down the door. And Barry's going to show us the cardboard cutout once again. I like Barry. I don't find him to be too annoying. You gotta love Barry, I think. You gotta love Barry. So, open the door, head on in here. Another checkpoint. It'll ask you to focus on that. It's some kind of a Viking ship. And we're going to use that to break down a door. And then once you do, you get a checkpoint. But the bad thing about it is, if you die to the enemies, you have to break down the Stuttering Bill from It. This by Stephen King. He thrusts his fists against the posts and still insists he sees the ghosts. Stuttering Bill, Ben Denborough from It. Okay guys, so after you do this puzzle, you're going to be beset upon by several enemies, and what I will say about this part is that you want to conserve your flares. Just because, as much as this fight might give you some problems, the next one after... Excuse me, I had to swallow right there. The next one after is rather difficult, and it can't be skipped. Cannot, I say. So, we have about 12 minutes left for this particular video. Then we'll be in episode 4, the beginning. No, excuse me. Episode. We already are in episode 4. We're in 4.2. We'll be in 4.3. It'll be called The Night It All Began, and it starts out in first person, so I will have to delete this guide. Just kidding. Anytime there's any momentary first person, it doesn't matter. I know Arkham Knight has a first person section at the end of it, but I'm never going to play that game anyway. But we do have a heavy duty flashlight now, which is really handy to have. So come on down here now. And there's going to be a runner over here, and what I would say is definitely take this guy out, because he will get carried through the next checkpoint, and it's really annoying. So it's a guy with a knife, and you want to take this guy out. I had no idea that he was going to hang around through the checkpoint, but he does. So what you're going to see me do is run, because when I turned around, I saw a light up ahead. So I went up there, got a checkpoint, and then he persisted through that checkpoint, and he caused me some additional problems as I was trying to make my way through the rest of this chapter. See, when you come up here, Barry will say, I think we can make it through there. And then when you come up here, these cut wires right here are going to afford you some protection, but it would have definitely been helpful if I had some flares over here, just to wean some of their light off, their darkness off, because there's a couple of heavy guys, a couple of chargers, and that guy with the knife, and chuckers, many chuckers of things. Well, I should say chuckers who have many axes, many knives to throw at you. It's very annoying. But if you come back here now, you can safely filter these guys right through the light, and they get burned up as they come through, so you hardly have to use your flashlight at all, but you still will a little bit. Yeah, it's a tough fight. And the reason you can't flee from this particular section, well, you might be able to if you wanted to, but it would be kind of hard because there's a truck standing in your way, and I just don't think it would be feasible to take care of this truck while all the other enemies are attacking you. In fact, I pretty much can say that it won't work. But there's the pickup truck out of our way. We're going to head up here. You want to take a left, and then Barry is going to be waiting for you. You're going to get another checkpoint, and we are going to fight a harvester coming up. It's another vehicle fight, and I did it on my first try. It's not that difficult. But Barry's going to remain down here. We need to open that door for him, so we're going to start our climb in a second. So I'm really enjoying doing 2 projects at once. The channel is actually quite productive at the current time. But just due to the fact that it's a holiday weekend with Thanksgiving and all, as well as what else is going on? Well, there's Fallout 4 that's probably, in the Bloodborne DLC. Watch out for this guy. He's not too bad, actually. So whenever there's a couple of high-profile games, I see less activity on my channel. And unfortunately right now, I just haven't seen too many comments on the Devil May Cry 4 guide, which kind of depresses me a little bit. But the views are there, so I know folks are watching. So just keep making your way up here. And boy, I tell you, this guide has been easy to make, but hard to narrate. Very hard. On the contrary, the Devil May Cry 4 guide, very simple to, easy to make, a pleasure to edit, a blast to play, and I have no problems narrating it because there's so many difficult parts all throughout. So another checkpoint right here. You want to start up the machine, grab all the batteries, and that conveyor should switch colors in a minute so we could ride down it. There we go. The light's green now, we could ride down it. And that house is our next objective. And I'm trying to think what you might need for this fight that's coming up. Flares are pretty indispensable for a lot of fights in this game. But I can tell that the difficulty is starting to increase. So I hope that persists. So when you come out here in a minute, you're going to be fighting, well, not a minute, more like 10 seconds. Fucking Vic Benedict, you fucking dickhead. I'm awfully critical of myself, aren't I? But when I said earlier that the orange circle was what the enemies were blocking, I don't know what that orange circle means. It may mean that part of the vehicle is I thought at one point it was a double health bar, but it could just be that you're aiming at somewhere that it's protected on the particular object. But toss flares down here because these guys are going to be coming after you, and that harvester doesn't have that much HP, so it's pretty nice. I mean, the thing's already gone almost. And can you run from this part? I never tried it. But the thing is, there isn't really anywhere to run because we can't go through the gate that's in front of the house. You'll need Barry to help you push it open. And Barry himself is sitting back in the barn waiting for access through the silo door. So just quite a few enemies over here. And this heavy-duty flashlight is working pretty damn well to take off their dark layer. So I am seeing a decrease in difficulty as far as the length of time that it takes to burn the darkness away. So this flashlight is actually making the game a hell of a lot easier. And you don't have to pick it up. In fact, you can use a normal flashlight, but I think that would be rather foolish in view of the fact that the difficulty might be increasing anyway coming up. I have no idea. I just don't remember this game too vividly. But what a magnificent game this is. I come back to this game to kind of de-stress from Devil May Cry 4 since it's so difficult. You know, because this game is pretty mellow. It's definitely nice to come back to this game. So anyway, jump on down here. You're going to procure another checkpoint in a moment. Here is one of those instances where I always say that, you know, I should have known that I needed the key first. But when I capture so much footage and I'm on a roll, so to speak, where I have a lot of footage and I don't have to do any editing, it's nice to just keep all the footage as it is and not have to do any additional editing. So I do apologize for that. You definitely want to come in here first, grab the key, and that'll save you a little bit of time. So once we have the key, we'll be able to open the silo door for Barry. Good old Barry. That's a boy, Barry. Get your ass out here, motherfucker. Then we're going to head on over to the house. Barry's got a pretty cool jacket, doesn't he? That's what I'm reduced to, talking about his jacket. My dog Felipe has a nice red little jacket too. It's like extra small. The dude's only 6 pounds, man. But anyway, we've arrived at the Anderson house. I'm sorry if the latter part of this video was kind of dull. I'm very exhausted having done so much work on this project in Devil May Cry 4. And I hope it goes appreciated by everybody because I am putting in quite a lot of hard work. So once you open the door, you want to run upstairs, fix the fuse box, and then once that's restored, the power will come on, and you will go downstairs and examine the record that's playing, and then that will trigger 2 cutscenes, and then that will usher us into 4.3, The Truth, What Happened That Night, I believe it's called. And we'll be in first person mode. We will be uncomfortably in first person mode. Take care.